I see my name in shining lights, yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success, let's get down to business.
And indeed, we're all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship in business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. So let's jump right in. I'm thrilled to be joined by Scott Rahn of the RMO LLP Probate Litigation firm. Scott, it's great to have you on the program. You've got quite an interesting story of what led you into this unique practice that you and your partner, Sean Muntz, together you've developed in on the West Coast. But Scott, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Scott, behind every entrepreneur, there are folks that have a story, have a backstory. How did you get started?
Grew up farming in rural Wisconsin, grew up in a small community, and I think I was looking for a practice area that shared those kind of communal values, and probate litigation is where that is at. You are here to take care of people in a very difficult time in their lives where a loved one is compromised or where they've lost someone that they care about deeply and they need help walking through the mess that can be probate, and certainly is the mess that is probate litigation.
Absolutely. And I know that your grandmother was somewhat of an influence of why you, again, chose to go into probate litigation. I think something happened when you were around 15 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, my grandmother retired when I was around 15 from farming. And after retirement, she spent a lot of time in the home. And once I was visiting and the phone kept ringing off the hook incessantly, she was being peppered by phone solicitors who were essentially taking advantage of her because she had nothing else to do. And she was writing checks for $5 here and $10 there and $20. And she didn't have the money or the resources, nor did she have really the wherewithal to be able to resist those kinds of things. And that kind of elder abuse, financial elder abuse, really sat with me. And it's something that we rail against here in our practice across the country, frankly, every day.
Definitely. Again, I'm fascinated by the growth of your firm, RMO LLP. You started in 2015 in Los Angeles. So tell us a little bit about the growth that has already occurred and why you are focusing on the growth, not just on the West Coast, but I believe you're slowly making your way further out east.
We are. Yeah, we started in 2015, me, myself, and I, the power trio, but we've expanded into throughout California, Kansas City, where we cover Missouri and Kansas, in Houston, covering Texas, Miami, covering Florida, and we've got a national growth strategy. We're looking at New York, Chicago, Boston, the usual wealth centers, and the strategy is we have a better mousetrap. We, frankly, take better care of people. There are far too many bad lawyer jokes, and they exist for a reason. And we really set a tone here at our firm with a set of core values that begin with leading with empathy. And we find that by taking very good care of people, getting them better results sooner and for less legal spend, frankly, so we can put them in a place where they can move on with their lives sooner, is something that really resonates with people. Because I think most people who are caught in these quagmires really want one thing, and that's relief from chaos, relief from dysfunction, relief from litigation, dispute, contention, and they want to be able to honor their loved one's legacy, and they want to move on. And we, frankly, have a better way of doing that.
Definitely.
That takes care of people. So
definitely, there's a lot to unpack there. In the very nature that your firm has a core value, and I want to get back to that in a moment, that core value being lead with empathy. But just on the subject of what you do, I find it interesting, and I know that you're looking to grow into Florida, which it's no secret. a large and growing elderly population. So there's definitely an uptick in demand for probate litigation. And a lot of this I know is there's a lot that's happening right now in terms of wealth transfer that's taking place. What are you seeing, Scott? What should our listeners sort of be watching for in the news?
Trillions of dollars in wealth transfer. As the baby boomer generation continues to mature, their wealth is being transferred to the next generation. And it's something that the industry has had their eye on for decades. And it's really starting to come to a head. When you combine those wealth transfers, significant wealth transfers, with the growing incidence of dementia, Alzheimer's dementia, advanced aging, et cetera, you kind of get a confluence of events, money, and people who are unwell and unable to protect themselves. So what ends up happening is the type of disputes that we deal with every day, where you have people breaching their fiduciary duties, lying, cheating, and stealing, changing documents, amending documents, falsifying documents. And that's where we come in to swoop in and protect what your loved one actually wanted, as opposed to perhaps what somebody else wanted for them.
Wow, fantastic. So again, I'm chatting with the man, the myth, the legend, the founder of the RMO LLP probate litigation firm. Leading with empathy is the cornerstone of the firm, which certainly has grown quite a bit. So I want to change gears, Scott, and talk about your role as an entrepreneur, because indeed that's what you are in growing this business. Why do you think it's important that a business actually has core values?
As you suggested, Shalom, it's the cornerstone of the firm. We actually have 4 of them. Lead with empathy is the cornerstone of those cornerstones. But we also have 3 more. Be authentic, which we define as doing the right thing always, every time, regardless of the consequences. We have we are stronger together, because we really believe strongly that we function better and can do more good as a team, including with our team members in our communities. And then the last one is zealous efficacy, and it's a play on zealous advocacy. And we made that play because we find and have found over the years that far too many lawyers are far too zealous advocates, even though it doesn't necessarily benefit their client. So we are really focused on results here and getting, again, the best result as soon as you possibly can for less spend, which doesn't necessarily add to the bottom line, but adds to our and our clients' peace of mind. All I can say is we sleep really well at night knowing we take really good care of people.
That's great. And it's one thing when you're starting a firm, and I'm speaking to our small business owners and entrepreneurs that might be tuning in. It's one thing to start a firm and to have those, core values, those cornerstones that we were just talking about, and know that for yourself. But as you grow, in line with, again, you're very passionate about what you do and helping people, as you said a moment ago, and you bring people in. I'm curious, Scott, how have you been able to sort of ingrain these core values in your growing team? I'm looking at your website right now, a pretty large team of attorneys, paralegals, marketing folks, administrative folks. Does everybody buy in, and what advice would you have to a fellow entrepreneur that might be listening?
The best advice I would have is to speak to your core values as frequently and consistently as you possibly can. We talk through them in making hiring, and when on the rare occasion we have to make those decisions, firing decisions. We make them when we're empowering people, when we're elevating people, celebrating people. We do quarterly awards where we give awards to people for exemplifying those quarterly value, or those core values. We just had our quarterly meeting yesterday where we celebrated 4 people for each of those values. And the more you speak to your values, the more consistent you are about your messaging, the more people understand and buy into why you're doing things. And it's really the why that meshes you together as a team. And for us, it makes us genuinely stronger together.
That's great. Scott, I've learned a lot in our conversation, both about probate litigation, the wealth transfer that's taking place, and why it's something that we all need to pay attention to. Of course, the growth of your firm, which is impressive, but certainly the message that you have for all entrepreneurs, regardless of size, is going to stick with me for a while, especially as we move into a new year. So Scott, there's a lot that I'm sure our listeners will want to stay in touch with you on, whether it's getting in touch with the firm or even just learning more about the business. Can you give us your website and contact information?
Sure, happy to. The website is rmolawyers.com. Reach out. All of our contact information is there.
rmolawyers.com, and certainly Leading with Empathy is right there, not hard to find. So you can see why it is one of those cornerstones, or as you say, the cornerstone of the cornerstones, which I love that, which is great. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. I encourage all of our listeners to check out rmolawyers.com. We're going to learn more about Scott and his amazing team that is all about taking care of people. Got to squeeze in a quick break here and get down to business. When we return, I'll be joined by Dean Schroeder as we continue talking all about the small business jobs and networking information that you need to know as you move into the new year. Be sure to check out my website, shalomklein.com. Check out our sponsors, Tom Arabali, healthplanchicago.com. Again, a quick break on the show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship, and we will be right back. Don't touch that dial.